Alright, finishing up the U-tries from yesterday. In problem E, okay, you have a less than symbol. The absolute value is by itself. So you want to take the opposite of 9, which would be negative 9, put it on the far left. Bring down your inequality symbol. What goes in the middle is inside of the absolute value bar, so that's 2p minus 8 all over 4. Bring down your inequality symbol, and then the number that you see. So now I want to solve this compound inequality involving and. First thing I want to do is get rid of the 4 because that's grouping 2p minus 8 together. So I'm going to multiply by 4 in 3 different places. When I multiply by 4 in the middle, all it does is cancels out the denominator. So I'm left with 2p minus 8. Bring down your inequality symbols because you did not multiply by a negative. The sign stays the same. 4 times negative 9 is negative 36. 9 times 4 is positive 36. And now I want to solve for p. So inverse order of operations, add 8 to both sides. I should say to all 3 places. Negative 36 plus 8 is negative 28. Cancels out in the middle, so I have less than 2p. Less than 36 plus 8 is 44. And now I want to divide everything by 2 to get p by itself. When you do that, you get negative 14 is less than p, which is less than 22. When you go to graph, it would be an open circle on negative 14, open circle on 22, shade in the middle. So again, this is your solution with the correct graph. In the next problem, we want to get the absolute value bars by itself. So I need to get rid of this plus 3 first. So I'm going to subtract 3 to both sides. So I have 4 times the absolute value of negative 6r minus 4. This cancels out because it makes 0, so less than or equal to 35 minus 3 is 32. I still have a coefficient of 4 out front, so I'm going to divide everything by 4. I divided by a positive number, so my sign stays the same. So I have the absolute value of negative 6r minus 4 is less than or equal to positive 8. Now, just because I have a negative inside of the absolute value bar, that's okay. Okay, you cannot just have this number be equal to negative. So I want to take the opposite of this number, negative 8, put it on the far left. Write your inequality symbol, negative 6r minus 4 in the middle. Another inequality symbol, and then exactly the number that you see, which is 8. From here, solve for solve for r. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4, which is less than or equal to negative 6r. Less than or equal to 8 plus 4 is positive 12. From here, I want to divide everything by negative 6. Once you divide by a negative, your sign is going to flip. So negative 4 divided by negative 6 is positive 2/3 when it reduces. Flip your inequality symbol. Negative divided by negative makes positive. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Flip your inequality symbol. 2 divided by negative 6 is negative 2. Now, you might be thinking that this is no solution because your inequality is flipped around. However, your larger number is on the left, your smaller number is on the right. So you can rewrite it with your smallest number on the left, largest number on the right, and then flip your inequality symbols back around. So your solution is negative 2 is less than or equal to r, which is less than or equal to 2/3. Quick sketch of this, close circle on negative 2, close circle on 2/3, shade in between. In this next example 2, it says apply absolute value inequalities. A says a recent survey showed 65% of young adults watched online video clips. The margin of error was within 3 percentage points. Find the range of young adults who use video sharing sites. So this is an important number, 65%. 3% is also or percentage points is also important here. Now, absolute value, by definition, is x minus a number, your inequality symbol, and then you'll have another number. Okay? Minus is part of the problem, just like in point slope form. Okay? So now, when you go to write this, you have to think about what type of problem this is. Okay? We are going to have less than or equal to, because it says that it's within 3 percentage points. So that's going to be less than or equal to 3 percentage points. Inside the absolute value, I will have x minus 65. And now when I go to set up and solve, I want to take the opposite of this number, put it on the left, bring down my inequality symbol. What's inside of the absolute value bars in the middle, bring down my inequality symbol, and then positive 3. So again, it says that 65% of the young adults watch online video clips, and then it's within 3 percentage points. So did you have to set this up? No, but this is the math behind it. So you want to add 65 to all 3 sides, and when you do that, negative 3 plus 65 is 62, less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3 plus 65, which is 68. So notice I'm 3 below 65 and I'm 3 above 65 for a total of 68. And again, you didn't need to set up an inequality to do that. You could have just simply put that down for the range. In B, it says the melting point, and there was a typo here, it should have said of ice, is 0 degrees Celsius. During a chemistry experiment, Jill observed ice melting within 2 degrees of this measurement. Write the range of temperatures that Jill observed. So we know that ice melts at 0 degrees Celsius. If I go within 2 degrees of this, that would be negative 2 degrees Celsius and positive 2 degrees Celsius. Okay. So now our temperatures have to fall in between this range. However, at negative 2 degrees Celsius, the ice isn't going to melt. Okay, so it's saying that this has to be within 2 degrees of the ice melting. So the range that we actually want to set up, this is a total of 4 degrees from negative 2 to 2. So I just wanted to clear up some confusion from the previous problem. Okay, we are not going to consider negative 2 degrees Celsius because, again, that takes us over the 2 degree range. So ice starts to melt at 0 degrees Celsius. Our range has to fall in between that, and Jill also observed ice melting at 2 degrees Celsius. So our inequality is exactly this. 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 2. Okay, go ahead and flip over on the back side. In C, it says the average annual rainfall in California for the last 100 years is 23 inches. However, that annual rainfall can differ by 10 inches from the 100-year average. What is the range of annual rainfall for California? Okay. So, to set this up, okay, this is our critical number of 23. That's what is going to go inside of the absolute value. It says that it can differ by 10 inches. So that's why it's going to be less than or equal to 10, because this is how much it is changing by. So if I set up an inequality, this would be negative 10 is less than or equal to x minus 23, which is less than or equal to positive 10. To get the x by itself, we would add 23 to 3 places. And we get that our range, negative 10 plus 23, is positive 13, which is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 10 plus 23 is 33. So this is the range on average of rainfall that California would get over the last 100 years. Okay, I want you to go ahead and pause the video. I would like you to try D on your own. When you have completed the problem, I want you to unpause the video and then check with the correct solution. Alright, so if you did D correctly on your own, you should have gotten 65 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 75. in example 3 here, okay, we are solving absolute value inequalities with a greater than symbol. Yesterday I told you with the less than symbol, I wanted you to think of less than, so it's an and problem. This one is going to be great or. Okay. So when I took a look at A, here I have the absolute value of 3n plus 6 is greater than or equal to 12. The absolute value is by itself, so I don't have to do anything as far as getting that alone. So you look at your symbol, which is a greater than or equal to symbol. So you're going to set up two inequalities. The first one, exactly like you see it without the inequality, the absolute value bars. This is going to be an OR problem. So then I am going to set up a second inequality, 3n plus 6, and I'm going to take the opposite of this sign, so I'm going to flip it, so it's going to be a less than or equal to, and the opposite of 12, which would be negative 12. And now I'm going to solve each inequality on its own. So subtract 6 from both sides. So 3n is greater than or equal to positive 6. Divide both sides by 3. And n is greater than or equal to 2. In this one, I would subtract 6 from both sides. So 3n is less than or equal to negative 18. Divide both sides by 3. And n is less than or equal to negative 18. So your solution is n is greater than or equal to 2, or n is less than or equal to negative 18. Now what does this look like on a graph? Negative 18 would get a closed circle on the left. Positive 2 would get a closed circle on the right. I would shade to the right, shade to the left. So it is an OR compound inequality. And the next one, here I have r minus 6 and the absolute value is greater than negative 5. So like yesterday, even though this is negative, I'm going to set it up and show you what actually happens. So I take r minus 6 greater than negative 5, so exactly like I see it without the absolute value bars, or r minus 6, flip the inequality symbol, switch the sign, and now solve each one individually. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So r is greater than positive 1. Add 6 to both sides. So r is less than 11. So what does this look like on a graph? I have an open circle on 1, open circle on 11. This one wants me to shade to the right. This one wants me to shade to the left. So everything on the number line is covered, so this ends up being all real solutions. So when you have a less than negative sign, your answer was no solution. When you have a greater than a negative sign, your answer is going to be all real solutions. In C, absolute value bar is by itself, so I'm going to take what I see inside of the absolute value, greater than 7, or what I see inside the absolute value bar, less than negative 7. Solve each one individually. Subtract 1 from both sides. So 2k is greater than 8. Subtract 1 from both sides. So 2k is less than, this should be 6, not 8. My mistake. Negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8. Divide both sides by 2. So k is greater than 3, or k is less than negative 4. What does this look like on a graph? I have negative 4 open circle on the left, positive 3 open circle on the right, shade to the right, shade to the left. In this one, indeed, absolute value bar is not by itself, so I need to subtract 6 first. So I get negative 10, less than, and then I have negative absolute value bar of 4t minus 2 out front. To get rid of the negative, I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. So absolute value bars of 4t minus 2 I divide it by a negative, so my sign switches to greater than or equal to. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, so that is positive 10. So set up two equations. First one, 4t minus 2 is greater than or equal to 10. Or I have 4t minus 2 is less than or equal to negative 10. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So 4t is greater than or equal to 12. Add 2 to both sides. So 4t is less than or equal to negative 8. And now divide everything by 4. So t is greater than or equal to 3. Divide it by 4. T is less than or equal to negative 2. This is my solution, and since I don't have enough space to graph, you do not have to graph that one. So now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try E and F on your own, so pause the video. When you are ready to check your solutions, unpause the video and compare. Alright, so for E, you should have gotten H is greater than 5, or H is less than negative 5.6. So you would have an open circle on negative 5.6, shaded to the left, open circle on 5, shade to the right. For F, you should have gotten P is less than negative 4, or P is greater than negative 2/3. So closed circle on negative 4, shade to the left, closed circle on negative 2/3, shade to the right.